Today is such a great day, and I'm so excited to be meeting you, sir, once again. My name is Oboh Joseph. I'm the president of Skican. Skican is South Korea International Cooperation Association of Nigeria. And another thing I would like to say is this is the first, in fact, is the maiden edition of the KoNi Dialogue Podcast. The KoNi Dialogue Podcast is a communication series to highlight the impact of KOICA-sponsored trainings for Nigerian public servants to Korea, and to see how the training programs that our members have attended has been impactful in the work that they do. We have today a man I respect so much. He's a father to me by every respect. We have today Ntufam Dr. Fidelis Ugbo. I will just quickly read his profile so that you can understand why that this is a very key and important event we're having today's session. So Ntufam Dr. Fidelis Ugbo is the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman, Governing Council, University of Cross River State. He's also the former Executive Secretary of the National Planning Commission and former Secretary, National Economic Council. He's a distinguished Nigerian lawyer, development economist, and public administrator with an illustrious career spanning over 3 decades across key institutions in the Nigerian public and financial sectors. He currently serves as the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the Governing Council of the University of Cross River State, where he brings visionary leadership to the governance and strategic development of the institution. He was also the former Executive Secretary of the National Planning Commission and Secretary to the National Economic Council, 2 of Nigeria's most pivotal policy coordination bodies, where he played the role in shaping national development strategies and intergovernmental economic planning. He also served as a director of the Central Bank of Nigeria, contributing to the formulation of monetary policy and institutional governance during a transformative era in Nigeria's financial sector. We are very excited to have you. And the last thing I would say is your tenure while you were Skican president was one of the best that we've had. A lot of the things that we're doing now had to be based on building on the track record that you set in motion for Skican to begin to develop. So it's a pleasure. It's a warm pleasure to have you. I know that you being here today was a miracle, and I want to say a very big thank you for making out the time, despite your other engagements, even outside of Abuja. You had to make it possible to be here today. So you're very welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I appreciate everything that is Skican. I appreciate, and I'm happy to be associated.
Thank you so very much. So we would move right in. As a former president of Skican and a respected sector leader, we are very honored to have you. And I would want us to start with your story. Can you share your story? What were the key moments for you? I want us to drive this conversation from your role as the executive secretary then of the National Planning Commission. What would you say about your role that you can blend with what KOICA basically is doing in Nigeria currently?
Thank you very much, and viewers, I appreciate this moment, and it creates an opportunity for me as a person to share my thoughts and my experiences interacting with KOICA. I had my first encounter with KOICA while I was the Executive Secretary of the National Planning Commission. And what was it? I was interested in deepening my knowledge of planning. And I very much appreciated the planning process in South Korea, where they took themselves from and where they took themselves to where they are today. To me, I wanted to know more how they did it so that I can also replicate that experience at the National Planning Commission of Nigeria. And The first program I went was to Koika in South Korea, was on planning. And I must tell you, it had a lot of impact on what I did at the national planning. While at the national planning, the first impact of Korean training experience I made in national planning was the development of mid-term report of the administration. 2 years after President Jonathan took over as the president of Nigeria, we produced a mid-term report. It has never happened. And after that, we have not had another mid-term report up till date. I can tell you that as a fact. And the experience we gathered from, I went to South Korea, my minister went to Malaysia. And by the time we came back, we put our ideas together and we said, let us do something that is more transformational. Let us do something that nobody has done before and see how it works. And we came up with the idea of midterm report, which means the report of the administration in 2 years. And we had a beautiful report on the projects of the administration, the impact the administration was making in various sectors of the Nigerian economy. And we were able to do that. The experience I got from South Korea helped me to coordinate that process. We were able to develop the National Infrastructure Development Plan for Nigeria. That is the same plan that they are using right now. Yes. Yes. We developed the plan. We were not able to implement it, but the present administration is trying to implement it. It's just the same plan that we had. So I want to say that my experience with the Korean government has been very thrilling, and it has deepened my understanding of planning and the need for planning in whatever we do and whatever I personally do as an individual.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so very much, sir. I'm just thinking from what you shared, the midterm reports and of course the infrastructure development master plan for Nigeria. I'm happy that the government did not overturn that whole system, and it's something that this current administration is using to further ensure that Nigerians can better reap the dividends of democracy. The question I want to ask for the average Nigerian out there who is really thinking of that better life, I'm not saying that there are no challenges with governance. Every governance system has its own challenges and all of that. But I want to understand, how does planning affect the common Nigerian on the streets? Like, I've been to South Korea twice, and when the first time I went was over about 11 years ago, and I traveled last year, and I could see that the Korea that I visited 10 years ago and the Korea that I visited last year, it was totally, it's like the transformation does not end. How can we have sustainable transformation in Nigeria? Are there things that you can share that can help policymakers to begin to think around sustainable transformation that does not necessarily rely on a certain government, but that can be continuous? What are those things that we can begin to think about to have sustainable transformation?
Thank you very much. I think my personal experience is that to have a sustainable development planning that will affect the lives of people in a positive way, we need to think perspective planning. What is perspective planning? Planning that you look beyond the administration.
Yes, sir.
In Nigeria, what we notice is that politicians think about the next election. But if you want to make a planning program that will impact on the lives of people, think beyond the election. Think about where you can take the people to. Ask yourself, where are we today? And where do we want to be in 10 years, not 4 years?
Wow.
In 10 years, where do we want to be? What can we do now that will take us to the next 10 years? So that whoever comes in between will not change the plan. So what we need to do is to be disciplined and to be consistent in whatever plan we have and we are implementing. Once we're able to do that and we are disciplined and we follow it faithfully without bringing the next election into it, just think about this is good for Nigeria. We do it. Like I spoke about the integrated national master plan, which we developed. The master plan was developed to take Nigeria for the next 30 years.
Wow.
And we believe that, yes, if we do that, because we saw that there was a disconnect between the states and the federal government, the subnational government and the federal government. There are projects the states will undertake, which the federal government will also undertake the same project.
More like duplication,
and all that. So we said that is not good enough. There should be a realignment of priorities so that whatever the federal government is doing in a state, the state government should know. And whatever the state government is doing, the federal government should know, so that there will be no duplication.
Yes, sir.
So that's why we brought about integrated infrastructure development plan, so that we will cut down on waste. Because we noticed that about 2,000 projects were abandoned.
Abandoned projects. Wow.
And that is a waste of public resources. So we believe that if we do that, there will be a continuity, there will be coordination, there will be collaboration between the subnational government and the federal government. So we did that today. This present administration is following it, and it is a wonderful thing to do.
Wow.
And we are believing that if subsequent administrations can continue with that, we will get it right.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Another thing that I would like our audience to know is when you first visited Korea, I know it might have been a while now, maybe some few years. What really stood out for you about the Korean people?
Yes. What stood out for me for the first time I visited South Korea was the warmth and friendliness of the people.
Wow.
The people are friendly, they are warm, they are prepared to help, they are prepared to answer any question you raise and all that. And they are prepared to share their own experience in a passionate way. They will tell you how they were once major recipients of aid.
Yes.
And when they were able to move the economy out of the crisis they had, and they started seeing prosperity, they believe that this is the time they should give back to the world what the world has given to them.
Wow.
And that is what informs their willingness to promote collaboration with other countries of the world and to give as much as possible.
Yes, sir.
The Korean government has made a lot of impact on the Nigerian economy. The number of training programs that Nigerians in public service have attended in Korea are so many. So many people have benefited. Not to talk of those who went for postgraduate degrees and all the rest of it. All this is meant to share experience. The Korean experience is, the Korean visitation is experience sharing. You share experience on what works there and what does not work there, what we can borrow from South Korea to develop the Nigerian economy, and what we can use to promote our own economy. So those were the very fundamental great impacts that I had for the first time I went to Korea, and the warmth and friendliness of the people.
Wow, that's very thrilling for me. I think I also share the same sentiment. But one thing caught my attention from what you said. You talked about how that Korea moved from a country that was dependent on aid
Yes.
to a country that now supports other countries in terms of giving out aid. Country that's ODA basically. Uh, on my mind currently, I'm thinking, how can, because there's a whole lot of politics right now within the whole aid system.
Yes.
I don't want to go too far with that because of the purpose of this podcast, but I believe that the orientation of a lot of countries or of some countries is actually shifting. The aid conversation is shifting in the past couple of months. I just want to know, what would you say, like, what do you think Nigeria can do? How can Nigeria move? I know that our part of our budget is funded through aid from a lot of friends of Nigeria across different countries. What can Nigeria do to move from? I don't I don't actually see Nigeria as aid dependent. We're a rich country,
Yes.
but we still, to a large extent, we still rely on some level of aid. But what can we do as a nation to reposition ourselves in a way that, just like Korea, we can now begin to export aid actively to other countries?
I think all we need to do is for Nigeria to begin to look inward. We can mobilize local resources and develop our economy without depending on external assistance. We can do that. Nigeria can become a net exporter of development aid to other African countries. Let us start from there. And I know that Nigeria has been playing a wonderful role in supporting African countries.
Yeah, true.
But what we need to do more is to look inward and begin a process of mobilizing local resources to finance our development effort. And once we do that, we will not be dependent on anybody for any development
Yes, sir.
aid. We will only depend on countries that have strategic relationship with us. Aid will not become a factor in determining how we move. And I want to tell you most sincerely, Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. And every African country is looking up to Nigeria. So the expectations from Nigeria are great. So we need to make a move. We need to make the first move so that other African countries can begin to have confidence in the fact that Nigeria can provide that leadership in Africa we they look up to, including financing other African
Yes, sir.
countries in terms of aid and in terms of development assistance.
Wow, thank you so much,
Yes.
sir. Like for me, the last time I was in Korea, I could see that in terms of the infrastructure, there was a massive leap in infrastructural development, and I want to see that much more in Nigeria. I know that currently in the Federal Capital Territory, we have leaps of infrastructure projects that are going on across the city. But I would like to find out, in your own experience, what was that wow moment for you when you arrived Korea, and how would you advise that wow experience that you had in Korea can begin to be replicated in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you very much. One of the most thrilling moments of my visit to South Korea was when I visited the uh, Innovation Hub.
Wow.
When I visited the Innovation Hub, which is built to harness the talents of young people, I felt extremely thrilled because here is a country that is thinking about what they can do to engage the youth and to take them out of, let me say, idleness.
Yes, sir.
how to harvest the creativity of the younger generation. They created an industrial hub. This hub provides an opportunity for every young person that has an idea, no matter how raw it is.
Wow.
You go there and develop that idea. And what they told me is that most of the young men that we saw there working on one project or the other, they don't go home, they sleep there.
Wow.
They sleep there. Instead of going home and all that, they have provision for them to sleep there and work 24 hours on whatever project they want to, so that they are able to develop. By the time they leave there, they become creators of jobs. They can export their talents to other countries of the world. Take Zoom, for example. Zoom is a product of South Korea.
That's this Zoom network.
Yes.
Zoom that. Wow.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Eric developed Zoom and took it to America, and today Zoom is everywhere. Korea is the most wired nation in the world in terms of technology. So they must constantly develop their youth so that there will be continuity. That's why I spoke before. I say, if we want to develop, we should not think about short term. We should think long term. We should think of continuity. We should think of focusedness in whatever we do.
Yes, sir.
That is what I saw in South Korea. And the fact that they made emphasis, they placed emphasis on developing the youth,
Yes,
the
sir.
youthful generation,
Yes, sir.
which is very, very good. And we need to do that in Nigeria. And I think in Nigeria, the president of Nigeria is beginning to pay attention to youth-related activities where the youth can engage their energies, which
Wow.
is very good.
Yes,
Because we need to expose the next generation if we want continuity. If you do not do that, then you will not get the development strides that we look up to.
Yeah.
Which is why when you go to South Korea today, if you went there 3 years ago, you go back today, things
Totally
have
different.
changed. Things
Totally
have
different.
changed. Because the young men that come out with new ideas, they try to experiment their ideas and they come up with something new, and the society is better for it.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I know that every country has like their national psyche. If somebody were to ask me about maybe the American national psyche, right now is America first. Everybody
Yes.
talks about America first, Americanization and all of that. I also know that for Korea, there are certain value systems that drive this innovation. You know, I don't know if you can touch more around the value systems that drive development, because for countries to develop, having a plan is one thing, is a beautiful first step, but the national orientation, the national value system that should drive that national development is also another factor. Are there things that we can borrow? I know Nigeria is a wonderful country. Nigeria is a great country. There's so much greatness in this land. People say that once you can survive in Nigeria, there's no, you can survive anywhere else in the world. Are there aspects of the Korean value system that drove development that we can adopt, not just as government, but as a people? Can you touch on that, sir?
Yeah, the Korean value system that drives their development is one, planning. They take planning very seriously. They review their plans occasionally to be sure that it aligns with current realities. The people are focused.
Mm.
They are friendly, and they are resilient. When they step on something they want to do, they don't give up until they achieve it. They do not think about elections, they think about development. The new Korea. What can we do new for Korea? When I went to Korea and we went to Busan, we were told that here in Busan, you can stand here and look at Japan.
Wow.
But they believe that in the next 50 years, there will be a road from Busan to Japan. So I asked, how do you do it? They said, yes, simple. All the rocks that they are cracking to create rail lines and all that, they take the spoils and dump them inside the sea. And they will be doing that for a number of years.
Wow.
And they believe that in 50 years, they can have a road that drives straight from Busan to Japan. That is perspective planning. That is long-term development planning. That is, the discipline is there. They see it and they continue to work on it. They do not wait for a government to push anybody. Once you put people on a project in South Korea, they take it serious and they look at it as a must, a must deliver assignment. So if we develop that attitude of we must deliver, we must meet the target, we must achieve what we have set for ourselves to achieve. If we develop that attitude to development, I can tell you this country will be great.
Well, in fact, I believe that statement you just made, that Nigeria will be great.
Yes.
I just also want to use this medium to talk to everyone that would have the opportunity to watch this video. The greatness of Nigeria is dependent on you and I. It's not just the government alone, because much of the time we tend to believe that it's somebody else's responsibility. Sometimes I drive through maybe the traffic violations, and I'm like, this traffic violation in Nigeria is an opportunity. It's an opportunity that we can even tap into, generate funding to further expand or improve, traffic solutions across the city. So that's a talk for another day in any case. But right now, I want to just touch on public service, because it's only the right public service that, to a large extent, can deliver the right national transformation that we are looking at. If the public service is undermined, if the public service is over politicized, if the public service is corrupted, there's no way, even if we have all the beautiful plans out there and we don't have a public service that has keyed into the development plan for Nigeria, then in the next 20 years, will not be different from the last 20 years. So are there, because I'm still sticking on the values, are there value systems within our public sector currently that we should do away with? Are there other value systems that we can pick up so that we can begin to drive this transformation that we are really talking about?
The public sector in Nigeria must begin, particularly the civil service, they must begin to think long term. They must begin to think long term. If you think short term as a civil servant, you will achieve nothing. You'll be thinking, when this administration goes, maybe everything is over. No. It is the civil servants that can help a country to grow if they think long term. If administration comes and is not doing what you think is right, you as a civil servant should be able to tell them, no, this one, if we have already achieved this milestone, we cannot go back here. We must continue on this path to be able to achieve more. That is how we can influence this public service to be able to become productive. If we do not do that and we begin to think short term, like politicians, then we'll get nowhere.
Yes, sir.
The civil service must think long term. Even if the politicians are thinking short term, the next election, the civil service must not think that way. They must think long term, what we can achieve within a decade, within 20 years, 30 years, and so forth. So that, because That is the institutional memory that guides political actors. So if the institutional memory is not giving the political actors the right advice, the political actors will always not, because it is like the popular saying in our country, soldiers go, soldiers come.
Yeah.
Barracks remain.
Remains, yeah.
The civil service is the barracks. And if the barracks is not properly organized, it will remain the same barracks you saw 10 years ago to be the same, just like you mentioned. So we must change our orientation as public servants to think long term and not short term. Which is why I personally believe during the period I was president of Skican, I came in with this idea that, look, a lot of Nigerian public servants have gone out there, they've learned so much, and they have come back. I know that some of them may not be in a position to implement directly what they went to South Korea to learn in Nigeria immediately, but they can use it to influence policy. They can use it to influence policy. And how will they do that if they cannot do it at a go? We thought about the idea of regionalizing the Skican administrative structure so that people will not think that, oh, Abuja is too far. I cannot come to Abuja every year. The cost of transportation and all that and all that. Said, okay, let us make it zone by zone. Let every zone have people who have gone to Korea. Let them meet maybe on quarterly basis to discuss issues that affect the zone and how they can contribute. If they begin that process of sensitizing people,
yes, sir,
gradually we will see that the entire public service will begin to rely or will build on what they learned in South Korea. The South Korean government developed e-governance policy for Nigeria. The question is, how much are we using it now? I believe that a lot is going on in terms of e-policy. The e-policy of government today was assistance from South Korea.
Yes, sir. Very true.
I had to develop and implement. And it was a good thing because the world is going digital. If the world is going digital, then we should put emphasis on that policy document which was developed and see how we can catch up. Because we know that South Korea will give us the very best. Because, like I said before, South Korea is the most wired nation in the world. They have used technology to frog leap development.
Sure.
And we should be able to copy from that if we begin a process of looking at things from the long-term perspective and how we can transform rather than how we can influence. You know, if we think about transformation, we will look long-term. But if we think of influencing people so that the next electoral votes will be more, then we get nowhere.
Yeah.
But I know that Nigerians are people who are resilient. They can learn very quickly. And I am believing that so far, so good. The government is beginning to think long term.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at the infrastructural projects we're having in Nigeria today, the Lagos-Calabar Highway, the Oboh-Sokoto Superhighway, and the one to Abuja. All these are long-term projects.
Yes.
They are not projects that the present administration is thinking we will do it and in the next election we use it to gain milestones. No. They are looking at 10 to 15 years ahead. Let us start something that nobody can abandon, something that people will key in and to say, look, this thing, we must do it and carry it to a logical conclusion. And I believe that if we begin to do that, I think we will have a better system. So I want to appeal to you as the president of Skican. Think about this process. Decentralize the Skican administrative structure
Yes,
so
sir.
that people can meet at zonal level to discuss issues that affect them at that level and send reports to Abuja. When they meet during the annual gathering in Abuja, they will make presentations on the impact they have made in their different zones. What impact have they done?
Yes,
What
sir.
projects have they done to bring the knowledge they have acquired from South Korea to implement in projects and programs around the area they find themselves? I believe if we do that, we'll gradually be helping to propagate
Yeah.
the good things that we learn from South Korea.
Yeah. In fact,
Yes.
I must thank you very much for that admonition.
Yes.
We've had our own peculiar challenges, but one of the things that we've done well at, um, especially in interfacing with Koika, has been to come up with, like, the past country director and even the new one currently, they have they are very bent on people who travel. They come back to Nigeria and they are funded to carry out projects within Nigeria. I think last year we had about 3 to 4 of such projects of funded by Koika, fully funded by Koika. And those projects were carried out in communities, in schools. And we hope to do a whole lot more on that this year. But going by the advisory that you gave, I feel that it's something that we have to revisit so that we do not oversaturate Abuja with all the possibilities. Let's see how we can begin to, do things in other zones in the country. And also last year as well, we had the opportunity of going to Lagos. We're in Makoko.
Yes. I remember.
Prior to last year, we went to a school in Nasarawa State where we donated tables, school tables, chairs, writing materials. We upgraded the infrastructure in the school. Then we also planted a lot of trees. We did a lot of tree planting projects because we noted that the school had issues with erosion or so. So we're able to see how, we could plant trees. We donated to the school as well. So some of those pockets of initiatives are things that we hope to carry on even this year. And we must also thank the Korean government, the Korean taxpayers, because it's on the strength of the Korean taxpayers that Koika is able to fund certain projects in Nigeria. But I want to dive back to your comments around e-government. I know that so much is happening within that space, and the reason I say that is because when you compare the airports in Nigeria, maybe between last year, this year, and you look back 10 years ago, you would see that even in the technology that drives our airport system in Nigeria has also greatly improved. And I say that because I know for one that Koika is very keen on supporting the Nigerian Immigration Service. In fact, the NIS has benefited immensely from Koika trainings and Koika support system. Even if you look at the Identity Management Commission, there are certain projects that Koika has also funded with NIMC to also support the whole issuance of NIN, National Identification Numbers, and all of that, still in line with the whole e-governance policy. So we must really appreciate the Koreans for the support that they provide beyond financial support, the technical support, the technical know-how.
Technology transfer.
Yes. Just to add also, I remember when I traveled to Korea last year, we took a trip almost 2 to 3 hours or even 4 hours by bus. You would realize that at every point, you're almost not cut out from 5G network. Your phone, you are browsing on maybe government open Wi-Fi system. So that society is connected. If you cannot afford maybe a telecom service provider's network charges, you can easily key into a government network that you can use to access the world. So it would be nice to have things like that in Nigeria and see how well that Nigerians can also enjoy that interconnectedness in the way we do things. So we're almost coming to an end of this session. I would just want to find out from you, as somebody who has in-depth knowledge in planning, in terms of Nigeria's relationship with KOICA and Korea, what do you think the future of that relationship should be? What's your vision around the relationship that Nigeria has with Korea?
The relationship between Nigeria and the Republic of South Korea is going to grow from strength to strength, particularly in the area of public sector delivery, the public service. The Korean government, through extension of aid to Nigeria, has impacted so much on the public service.
Yes, sir.
We spoke about the e-governance policy. The e-governance policy that was developed for the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy,
Yes, sir,
is what is being used today to drive processes in Nigeria. And because the world is going digital, we will continue to look up to South Korea for direction and for assistance to ensure that we improve on our technology infrastructure nationwide.
yes, sir.
I had said before that South Korea is the most wired country in the world. And you have confirmed it.
Yes, sir.
That even if you cannot afford data to browse your phone, the government network is available everywhere you go, which is the truth that they are most everywhere you go, you can have that access. We can do that in Nigeria. It is not impossible to achieve. We believe that working with South Korea in this area, we will fast track our development, because nothing fast tracks development faster
Yes,
than
sir.
technology. Information communication technology fast tracks. Information communication technology is even bigger than crude oil that we sell to make money.
Very true.
We can make more money from information communication technology than anything else. So we still have a lot to depend on each other. The relationship between the two countries, I believe, will continue to grow from strength to strength. I believe that South Korea will not abandon Nigeria. So we should strengthen our relationship so that we are not totally cut off from the rest of the world. Yes, we can learn from their development experience and we can take this nation to greater level.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Today has really been very entertaining, insightful, educational. I want to say a very big thank you to you. Ntufam, you told me that Ntufam means High Chief.
Yes.
Ntufam Dr. Fidelis Ugbo, second president of Skican.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to have had you on today's session of the KoNi Dialogue Podcast. I'm so happy that you've put out so much, and I believe strongly that those in charge of the ship of the state of Nigeria can pick out one or two things from this conversation to implement on a national scale in the interest of the Nigerian people. Because at the end of the day, leadership must work in the interest of the people. So I want to say a very big thank you to you. I also want to say a very big thank you to the country director of KOICA, Mr. Kim Insob. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for making this platform available for us to have this dialogue and these discussions. And we believe in strongly that much of what we'll be going on through the KoNi Dialogue Podcast would add value to the mindset framework of our country. And I believe strongly that Nigeria will take its place in the Committee of Nations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. And to our viewers, it's a pleasure sharing my thoughts. I believe that we'll continue this dialogue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.